Hi, my name's Warren. Welcome back to this introduction to SQL. All right, in this video, I wanted to touch on something that we haven't looked at as yet. In the beginning of this course, we looked at populating data, creating tables, and populating data in the tables. So, as I explained right in the beginning, in SQL, you can create, you can read, you can update, and you can delete. So we created the tables and the data. We've been reading the data by writing queries and pulling the data out, but we haven't looked at updating or deleting data. Now again, in a production environment, you might not have access to delete or update because that might be limited. You don't want people being able to go in and change records and that, but it's always good to understand how to do it. So what we're going to do, we're going to touch on two very quick examples on how to update and how to delete records. So let's have a look at our employee table. You can see here we have 5 employees. So if we had to go and say select star from employee where employee ID equals 6, you can see nothing comes back because there is no number 6, right? So if we wanted to go and update a record, we can only update a record that is existing. So let's go and have a look at record 5. And we execute record 5. All right, I think I've just gone and run everything, yeah? And if we look at record 5, here's a sales associate. If he became a reception manager, we would need to go and update this table to show that he's a reception manager. So how we want to do that is we first query the data to make sure we are pulling the correct record, which we are doing. We want to change number 5. And then we write the update statement. So how that works, we write here, update. What table do we want to update? So this is the table we want to look at. The set is what is going to change the old value to the new value. We want to change the job title is the column. It's this column here in the table, equal to reception manager. Now, if you had to run just this, we aren't filtering the table. That means that every single employee in this entire table would have his job title changed to reception manager. So you need to be very, very careful with this. That's why we need to have the filter. That's why we did this first, to make sure we're only returning the record that we want to change. And that's why we add a where statement at the end of the update. That's why many people don't get given this access, because you can cause havoc on the system. So here we're going to say, update the employee table, set the job title field to reception manager where the employee ID equals 5. And from this select, we can see, yes, this is the right guy. Mark Brown has now been promoted. He is a reception manager, and we need to update that. So we highlight this and we execute. Now if we go back and we look at the same query, Mark Brown is now the reception manager. And if we look at the full table, you can see we have a sales manager, a few sales associates, and now we have Mark Brown, who's a reception manager. So the update worked. Now, we might decide that we no longer want Mark Brown to be in this table. So we can also delete. Now, deleting, we need to be just as careful. So again, I would recommend that you do something like a select statement and you check, all right, we definitely want employee ID number 5. So here we can learn how to delete a record using the delete statement. So this one's quite straightforward. You just write delete from whatever table you want to delete from, where employee ID equals whatever the ID is. So we're looking at ID 5. Again, you need to be careful. There's no undoing this once you've done it. Most cases, you wouldn't delete a record in a production environment. You would make it inactive or change an active indicator or something like that. But this is purely just to show you that you can delete records too. So I'm going to execute that. Saying here, all right. So with the way that we created our tables, we were quite clever. Because in the sales transaction table, we have our columns where we've defined this as a foreign key. Now what has happened, we have records in the table that are against this ID. So what SQL is saying is you cannot delete this record because there is a relationship between these two, and that would mean that our sales transaction table would have an ID that doesn't exist in the employee table because we've deleted it, which wouldn't really work, right? So it's actually stopped us from doing it there. So that's a really good thing. I want to see if I can go and create a record quickly, and then we can delete that record. So just give me a second. Let me go in and create another employee quickly. So we can use this statement here. Then I'm going to create a new employee. So I'm just going to insert a new record into employee. These are the columns. And just like we did initially, these are the values. So this is employee number 6. And we have no sales records against this employee as yet. So I'm going to execute that. If we go back here, I want to look for a new, let's just look at our full employee table. You can see I've created a new employee. Employee is the first name. No sales because we don't have any sales as yet. And that person is a sales associate. Now, all of these guys have got sales, so we can't delete them because this number 5 is related to the employee ID 5 in our sales transaction. But for this particular one, there are no sales as yet. So we can now go and we can delete employee 6. And it'll allow me to do that because there are no records linked against this. So let's go there. We execute. One row affected. We now look at the table again. Let's just grab that. And you can see record 6 is gone. So that's how you update and you delete. Always, before you do this delete statement, double check that this is the actual record you want to either delete or update. So always do a select statement first. Have a look. Is this the right guy? Yes, it is. Now you can take that ID and put it in your update or in your delete statement. You don't just want to delete because there's no undoing once you've done that. But I thought that would add a bit of value. You learned how to create an insert, so I thought I would show you how to update and delete. Great, I'll see you in the next video where we'll look at creating something called a view. Chat to you in the next video.